Good morning and welcome to the new edition of my live comments. I ordinarily do not like to take up local issues, but when the local issues have the possibility of becoming international issues, then they are important. What has been happening in Brampton, a city in Ontario which has a large Punjabi and Sikh population and which has already involved diplomats from India as well as the foreign minister of Canada, is a matter of concern. For the last few years, there has been a trend in Canadian cities to celebrate the so-called multicultural aspect. Toronto took a lead with this Caribbean festival. Mississauga followed with Carabram, and Brampton could not be left behind. They started with the Carabram. There's nothing wrong with that, the celebration of the different cultures and the different countries. But there was a departure this year. This event, Carabram, is an annual event from 14th of July to 16th of July. And when I look at the list of the pavilions, I find all countries there. Portugal, India, Singapore, Malaysia, China, and name it, and they are there. But this year they started a new trend. One province of India was given a special pavilion. So when you look at the list of the countries, earlier the last country used to be Portugal. This year after Portugal is the name of Punjab. Now, this gives an impression that Punjab is a separate country, and in view of Brampton being a largely Sikh area, it gave an impression that the government, especially the Brampton city, is somehow or the other promoting a separation tendency. The plea taken by the organizers was that it's a celebration of Punjab culture. Now, in case this is a celebration of Punjab culture, one thing should be there. There is no Punjab culture. There is a Punjabi culture. Maybe if they had called it Punjabi Pavilion, tempers would not have run so high. And here the tempers ran high because it was called Punjab Pavilion. And Punjab Pavilion is not one. There are two Punjabs. One is in India, the other is in Pakistan. And when I look at the poster of this festival, I find that the Punjab Pavilion shows practically a celebration of Sikh religion. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but then it should be a celebration of all religions. Canada prides itself on being a multicultural country, and so is India. And celebration of the cultures of India is something which anybody would be proud of, especially with the Indian roots living in Canada. But when that gives rise to the suspicion of divisive, vociferous tendencies, then that is not something which can be appreciated. And that being so, the officials of the Consulate General, the diplomatic corps, protested. And they followed a very, very diplomatic line. They protested to the organizers that either don't permit a Punjab pavilion because it gives rise to a suspicion of separatism, or you call it a Punjabi pavilion, which is very justified. And that gave rise to annoyance by the organizers, who called upon the mayor, Linda Jeffrey, to intervene. Now, Linda is a former Liberal minister. She was in Catherine government. Later on, she became a mayor. And she's a good friend. A very gentle lady, a good administrator. But somehow or the other, she could not understand the international and the diplomatic implications. So she wrote to the foreign minister, Christopher Freeland. And Christopher Freeland gave a statement that this act of the Consulate General is uncalled for and it's an interference in the affairs of Canada. She forgot that just recently, when Prime Minister Trudeau had visited India, this was an issue that had antagonized the government of Punjab, and the Chief Minister had at first refused to meet Mr. Trudeau. And later on, Trudeau had to placate him. This was the reason why the Prime Minister delayed his meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada. This was the reason that he got a very cold reception everywhere. Now let's look at it dispassionately. If it's a celebration of the culture of one province, then why not the other provinces? Why should there not be a Gujarat pavilion, a Tamil Nadu pavilion, an Andhra pavilion, a Kannada pavilion, a Bengal pavilion, a Gangotri pavilion, a Ganges pavilion? Why should not there be an Utkal pavilion, Mizo pavilion, Naga pavilion? Why should there not be an Assami pavilion? Why should there not be Malayalam pavilion? The list goes on and on and on. And if all the 50 cultures that are prevalent in India are to represent it, would Brampton have sufficient logistics to deal with it? And that's not only India. Then comes Sri Lanka. Why should they not have a pavilion? China has got about 40 different cultures. Why should they not have a pavilion? And these 13 or 14 countries which are participating in Carabram, if all the cultures of all the countries are to be shown separately, the list might run to 150 pavilions instead of the usual 14, 15 pavilions, which is going to be a logistic nightmare. The second aspect is that in case you show one country into two parts, one as a province, the other as a country, is that not going to annoy the other people from their same country? Thirdly, you have other countries as well. For example, you have Portugal. There are 3 cultures in that. So why have we discriminated against that? And fourthly, in case it is a cultural revival, why lay emphasis on Sikh culture, Sikh religion? I find a lot of talk about contribution of Sikhs to the Canadian life. I see a lot about 305th years anniversary of Guru Gobind Singh. There are more than 10 religions in India. And if either you have on the cultures, 50 cultures, or the 10 religions, where do you stop? So why stir up and open a Pandora's box? This is something very undiplomatic that the government is doing. And Freeland should, before making a statement and criticizing and condemning the Consul General's office, should have applied her mind, which evidently she has not. She has behaved in a manner typical of bureaucrats and not of the religious leaders. And then another thing, that is that Punjab gives a certain credence to the well-known fact, a well-supposed fact, that the government of Canada is directly or indirectly, obliquely and scarcely interested in promoting a vote bank. If that is so, nothing can be more objectionable. This situation could have been handled very easily. And that could have been that the Indian pavilion should have been asked to give a separate desk for Punjab, if they wanted to do. But to have a separate pavilion, making Punjab, bringing Punjab at par with independent countries is fraught with danger. You cannot have 12, 13 countries and then one province of a country at par. The next step might be, if this stupidity goes on unchecked, that the Punjab has its own ambassador or high commissioner in Canada. Can anything be more ridiculous? The international relations are not run this way. And India has every right to be annoyed at this. India has every right to object and protest, because here one part is made to appear as a whole and independent of the mother country. Punjab is as good a province of India as 28 other provinces are. And this can have a repercussion all over. Now look at the problem for the Modi government. If Modi government protests, and rightfully it is justified, it would be justified in recalling its ambassador, telling the government of Canada that what Canada has done, especially the foreign minister's statement, either she should have kept quiet. That is an act of being bordering on unfriendliness. And as such, the ambassador is being recalled, at least for consultations. Here, ambassador would be high commissioner. This would put the relations between the two countries in a deep freezer. Now, if Modi government does it, it is going to have international repercussions automatically. And if in case he doesn't do it, he would face opposition at home, because the opposition parties would be fully justified in saying that the Modi government is not protecting the integrity of the country, that it is compromising with those forces which aim at vivisection of the country, and that is not acceptable. Carabram has in fact become a divisive instrument as far as the Indian polity is concerned. And not only that, it has also a dangerous implication that the people of the Indian origin who are living here in Canada would be divided. I could see two persons of the Indian origin. One happens to be a director of the most important organization, Panorama India, and the other is also equally important. These people have objected to it. So the diplomats' objections are there. The community leaders are objecting. And blatantly, the mayor, the organizers, and the foreign minister are abetting that. Now, another point which arises is, and which is a very pertinent point, if an autonomous organization is organizing this Carabram, then why should a foreign minister be involved? Is it a government organized one, or is it a privately organized one? In case the privately organized one, the interference by the foreign minister is absolutely unwarranted and uncalled for. This is a litmus test for the diplomatic capability of the foreign minister and the assertion of the prime minister that they stand for united India. If they really stand for united India, they should not have permitted this separate pavilion. And once they have permitted it, they should change the name to Punjabi Pavilion. But even that is, as I said earlier, fraught with danger. Because then what's wrong with Marathi and Gujarati and Malayalam and Kannada and on and on and on. Carabram has potential of being inflated or rather conflated from a local municipal level to international level and can have dangerous, I say again, dangerous implications for the Indo-Canadian relationship. I hope the federal government wakes up, realizes the mistakes, and sets it right before it's too late. Thank you.